I'd like to call this meeting September 11th, 2006 of the Romulus Board of Education to order. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Freyer.
Present.
Mrs. Buckley.
Here.
Mr. Cooter.
Present.
Mrs. Lanasi. Present. Mr. McKevich.
Here.
Mrs. Roscoe.
Here.
Mrs. White. Present.
And everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the first order of business is to do our approval of our agenda, but we do have some changes first. First change we have is going to be the D1 to teen court. We're going to need to make a recommendation for a motion to implement the teen court. And Carol will be getting us that paper. Also on F, for the 2006-2007 Michigan School Readiness Program, we need to change the wording on the paper we have in front of us. The rationale should say recommended motion, and the rationale should be on there as required for state funding. So I need a motion
I'd like
for
to
those
make a motion
changes.
that we approve the agenda as amended.
Motion by Ms. White, supported by Ms. Lanasi. Do we have any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Get a motion, please.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a recommendation that we approve the minutes from the previous meeting, August 28th, 2006. Support.
Motion by Mr. Mankiewicz, supported by Mr. Kuderik. Do we have any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next is a report from our superintendent, Mr. Weiss. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, we have a number of personnel actions. Mr. Clark, if you want to review those for us, please.
Thank you, Mr. Wise. Members of the board, our first personnel action is a resignation. A motion is needed by the board to accept the resignation of personnel as submitted. Ms. Amy Wolkwiak.
Okay, can we have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the resignation of personnel as submitted.
Motion by Ms. Buckley, supported by Ms. Lanasi. Do we have any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Our next personnel action is a for-your information resignation. Mr. Anthony Daniels, kindergarten aide at Hell Creek Elementary, and Ms. Colleen Maroney, kindergarten aide at Wick Elementary School. Our next personnel recommendation is a teacher recall. Move that the board accept the recall of Jason Bono, kindergarten teacher at Romulus Elementary School, as submitted.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the recall of Jason Bono.
I'll support.
Motion by Ms. White, supported by Mr. McCabbage. Do we have any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And our last personnel action is a for-your information. Due to vacancies created in Local 64, we are recalling or reassigning the following employees: Patricia McEverly, Vern Olme, and Kim Webb. On the second page, you will see a description as to how these vacancies became about and who's going to replace them.
You have to include there's one other one. Trevor Roughton.
Trevor Roten is at the bottom.
Okay. So there's four then.
Yes. I'm sorry, yes, he should have been included. Thank you.
I would like to make a motion that we,
That's for your information.
Oh, for- oh.
We have to do that. We're all set there.
take that out.
Okay, and we're going to do bills for payment. Who's doing that for us?
Sherry is gone for, she'll be back a week from tonight, so I'll just quickly review that. We have a motion for bills as submitted, total being $169,941.70.
I'll make the motion that we approve the bills for payment.
Support. Motion by Ms. Freyer, supported by Ms. Lanasi. Do we have any questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay. Next, Mr. Clark is going to give you an enrollment update, and I just want to give you a caution before Ed starts. Remember, we've been collecting numbers pretty much every day the first week, and our latest set of numbers was today, but experience tells both of us that these numbers are kind of soft numbers. You know, things will change still. The numbers that really count will be the numbers for count day, which I believe is the 27th of the month. It's the fourth Wednesday after Labor Day. If Phyllis knows. Anyway, those are the numbers that will really determine our budget amendment and how much, you know, we're allotted in terms of FTEs. But I'll let Mr. Clark take over.
Just to give you the unofficial count, when comparing September 2005 with September 2006, looking at grades K through 12, community high, community middle school, we are currently down 67 students. Okay, once again, that's the unofficial tally that's there. However, keeping in mind that we're projecting about 80 FTEs from our adult ed alternative program, St. Stephen's and St. Alfred. So when it's all said and done, we're down maybe around 40 some odd students if you were to add those into it. So we're not doing bad. And families are still moving into the community as well as enrolling students on a daily basis. When you look at elementaries in our district, we're down about 71 students in the elementaries. Middle school is up 21. And the high school is down about 26, just to kind of give you a breakdown of the various grade levels. Any questions? Thank you.
I have one question, actually, if I can, please, Madam Chair.
April.
Can we get a list of the number of students, the breakdown that we used to receive last year? Would that be possible?
Don't we usually get that after count?
Yeah. I'd be hesitant to do it before count day, just because it changes, and I want you to have the right information, but we could certainly do that after count day, once we've finalized our numbers.
Actually, I was kind of hoping that we could get them beforehand, so that we could just kind of take a look at them, because I know that we have a certain amount of days before we can make changes, or an allotted amount of days that we are allowed to make changes up to.
One of the reasons why that's kind of difficult, because we're, as you say, making changes within the various classrooms on a daily basis, trying to balance out the classes within the building, as well as trying to balance out the classes within the district. So even if we were to give you numbers today, they're going to change tomorrow or the next day. So they're in a steady state of transition.
I had one quick question on the elementary. Is there any particular elementary that is hit harder than the rest, or is it just spread out through the whole, all six, as far as the down number?
Down numbers, once again, unofficially, Corey seems to be the lowest at this point in time, down 49 students.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're all set.
Okay, next on our agenda, we have the Honorable Brian Oakley here, and he's here to speak with us a little bit about the teen court process. You received information in your packet on Friday about that.
No, you need the microphone.
Do I need it?
Yep.
Yes.
Wait,
No,
it
we
won't
can
be
all hear
recorded.
you at home.
Did you all get this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. It's so Now?
Now you got to step in the box.
All right. So complicated. Did I use up all the time I had? Did everybody get one of these, or this packet from downtown?
They had the trifold.
They got the trifold?
Yes.
We have a
Okay.
trifold.
All right, then I don't need that, do I? You've already read it, memorized it? Okay. I don't know a heck of a lot about this program, and I wanted to get somebody from the prosecutor's office here, but neither one of the two people that are involved in this program were available tonight. So I'm going to wing it and tell you, first of all, this is something we have to do, and I'll explain why. The teen court program will work very, very well, we think, with what we're already doing at the court with the juvenile justice program. And you already know what that's all about, but just for maybe people at home. Your school liaison officers and any other Romulus police officer has the ability to write a child who's not 17 years of age, because 17 is an adult in the criminal justice system, in spite of the arguments I've had with some mothers about that. The police officer can write the child for certain offenses, like, for example, possession of tobacco. They can write him as either a misdemeanor or they can write him as a civil infraction. If they write him as a misdemeanor with a JCO1, that file gets sent downtown. So most of our officers are on board with our program at the 34th District Court. They write him with a civil infraction. That lets us deal with the kid locally. And the bottom line is we can deal with them. If they send a kid downtown with a possession of tobacco charge, nothing happens. In essence, they don't have the resources, which I'm okay with, because I'd rather them spend their limited resources on the serious crimes that some juveniles are committing. The reason we started the juvenile program at the 34th District Court is because statistically, and we believe the statistic, I can't say that word, statistically, and we believe the statistics are true, that the kids that get into trouble doing that kind of minor stuff when they're 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, sometimes those little problems like disrupting school activity or possession of tobacco or those little quote-unquote minor things, they're indicative of some deeper problems in the kid's life, and those problems lead the kid to joyriding and auto theft and armed robbery and all the bad stuff that they have to deal with downtown, which is why we started our program. The teen court program is similar but different. When a JCO1 is received by the prosecutor's office, once again, that's the paperwork that the local police department generates on a juvenile, misdemeanor, or felony. When a JCO1 is received by the prosecutor's office downtown, the juvenile division, they go through each one of those JCO1s, and they find those cases that they think will be appropriate for a diversion program. In our case, it'll be teen court. The respondent and or parent or guardian come down, have to meet with the prosecutor's office. If the prosecutor's office determines that they are a candidate for teen court, and this is real important, and the kid says, yeah, I did what you think I did, admits responsibility, then they're eligible for teen court. They'll show up in front of me in my courtroom, and I'm basically a moderator. I lay down certain ground rules. I make sure that the rules are followed. I make sure that things are handled in an orderly fashion. But the teen court actually runs things. And the teen court, in our case, is going to be made up of students from Romulus High School that will receive training by the prosecutor's office. They tell me it's going to be 2 or 3 hours worth of training. They provide all the training. The kids, it's purely voluntary with the student jurors. And I watched it in action in the Woodhaven Court, 33rd District Court, and it's really quite impressive. The student that got in trouble and the parent or guardian come up in front of all the teen jurors, and the teen jurors get to ask them questions. What's going on at home? How are school, how's school grades going? What other stuff are you involved in? What happened? What were the circumstances that led to this offense? What happened at home? Was there punishment? Were there consequences? What were they? Have you done everything you were supposed to do for those consequences? The kids actually asked some very, very good questions. I took our juvenile probation officer with me, and we kept looking at each other like, wow, that was a good one. Wow, that was a good one. So the kids are on top of things. These kids will take this very, very seriously. It's not just an excuse to get together and socialize. And the interesting thing is that the teen jurors tend to punish much harsher than quote-unquote real judges would. And I got that directly from Judge McNally at 3030. He said, you're going to be shocked when you see how these kids handle this stuff, because everything's serious business with them. I think it's important for a couple of reasons. Number one, this gives us another tool that we can use at the court, because some of our files that come in, if we think the child would be more appropriately handled with teen court versus our program, then we contact the officer that wrote the ticket and say, tear that one up, rewrite it with a JCO1 and send it downtown. And then our probation officer can call downtown to the prosecutor's office and say, look for this one, we want it in teen court. Then they'll screen that child to put him in teen court. Some of the kids might respond much differently to peer punishment than they would to anything I can do through our program. And the other thing is, certain offenses that we don't have the option of seeing, and I've got a whole list of what types of things would be involved. But for example, use of a motor vehicle without authority. I referred to it earlier as joyriding. We don't have a civil infraction for joyriding in Romulus. So if one of our Romulus officers catches a kid that's been joyriding, they don't have any option. They have to do a JCO1. Now they can do a JCO1 that still gives the child a chance to keep the record clean with teen court. Because if they do everything that the teen juror orders them to do, then they don't have any record with it, not even a juvenile record. It's a closed out file. It completely clears everything. I think I've rattled long enough. Questions?
Judge, I have a couple. I thought I understood it. Criteria for selection of the jurors is they volunteer? The students volunteer?
The jurors, yes, the jurors are volunteers. Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Now, when is the court held?
What I've
Time,
done,
day?
what I've done at this point is I've given one Wednesday afternoon a month to Romulus. I've given one to Huron because Huron's on board with that as well. I got to think about it. I think Romulus is scheduled to start at 3 o'clock and Huron's at 3:30. And I didn't think to bring my calendar, but I'm pretty sure it's 3 o'clock. So
well-
it's after school.
After
Yeah,
school.
okay.
It's after school, right.
Okay, now how many jurors do they have per case? Is there a set
Depends on how
number?
many kids show up.
Oh, okay, so it's not a 12 or 9 or, okay.
It's a fluctuating number. In Woodhaven, the day I was there were 7 or 8 kids there. Judge McNally told me that because it was summertime, it was a low number. Usually during school, they'll have 12, 15 kids show up.
Judge,
Go ahead,
Madam Chair,
Go
Judge.
ahead,
I
name.
have a question. It says that it's made up, the kids are recruited from high schools. Will those particular children come from our high school in Romulus, or would it be different high schools?
To be perfectly honest, I'm not sure how that's going to work. When I talked to Kathy Zavota from the prosecutor's office, what happened is I went and watched their program. I told them I wanted to do one here, and I set up a meeting between her and Dan Hurst, and then did the same thing in the Huron schools. And I told Dan and the principal in Huron, I think that's a determination that they have to make. From my standpoint, I don't care. Personally, I think there's some benefit. Certain cases, I think there's a benefit from having a Romulus student judged by their real peers, the kids they see in the hallways. I can see certain circumstances where that would complicate matters.
Right.
But I think that's what's nice with us doing it with Romulus and Huron at the same time. The prosecutor's office and the principals can decide if they want to have Romulus kids deal with a Romulus offender or switch them up. And we've got the capability to do that. So that was a long answer to your short question. The short answer is I don't know.
If I could,
I'm leaving that up to the school.
if I could just add, Mr. Hurst has been working with one of the teachers at the high school, Mr. Hanna, who teaches the local government class, about ironing out some of those details. So, and Mr. Hanna was very enthusiastic about, adding that as a component to his class. So some of the background might occur within class, but the trials will be, or they're really not the trials, but the deliberations will be after school. And again, my understanding is the students aren't deciding whether you're guilty or not. It only comes to the
Absolutely
teen
not.
court when the offender has already admitted guilt.
Absolutely.
And they're just meting out the consequences.
Right. They're coming up with the punishment.
Dan, you and I went to Plymouth a couple years ago to observe. Same thing?
This, similar but different. That program was Judge Lowe's invention, if you will. This is driven by the prosecutor's office.
Similar concept, though?
Yeah, from the standpoint of what the involvement is with the kids.
Yeah.
Very, very similar. The mechanics are a little bit different, the way I understand what he was doing then versus what we're going to be doing now.
Okay.
I think personally, Brian, I think it's a good idea because it gives the kids another avenue, students another avenue to venture into seeing what do I want to do with my life. Do I want to work in the courts? Do I want to work in the police department? Whatever, lawyer, what have you. Because I know that when the kids come over from Mr. Hanna's class, they do a mock
Right.
trial sometimes and everything, and the kids really get into that and they really like that. And gives them an idea of what they want to do and if that's really what they want to do.
I've got a real good imagination, and I haven't come up with a downside to this.
No, I think
The
it's
worst I could
excellent.
come up with is the strong embarrassment factor for some kid that has to stand in front of his or her peers.
Their friends.
And talk about what mom did for punishment.
Right.
And I think, personally, it worked with me when I was a kid. I think embarrassment can be a hell of a tool.
Yeah.
So even that downside, to me, isn't a downside.
I think it's an excellent idea. Do you have any more questions
Oh,
for
I had
Judge Oakley?
one quick one here. And just give me, if you have one example. Sentencing, and it says detention is not an option, which, that seems to be always
Right.
the thing they want to do.
Right.
What types of things can this jury impose? Just an example, if you have
The
one.
one I went and watched in Woodhaven, the offense was 3 students got caught skateboarding and/or rollerblading at a local church where the signs were posted, no skateboarding and/or rollerblading.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we would all agree, well, you know, that's a far cry down the ladder from shooting at somebody. Here's what, from memory, here's what the punishment was. A 500-word essay of apology to his mother.
Oh.
A written apology, I don't remember if there was a length laid down or not, a written apology to the church. 100 hours community service, which the suggestion was made that that student should organize some skateboard slash inline skate safety lessons for younger kids. Now that's just what I remember, and there were a number
Okay,
more
that's great.
other items on there. So the kids get real inventive. They get real inventive. One of the things that I noticed on the list is that the teen jurors might say, okay, part of your punishment is you got to show up for the next 4 of these we do, and you got to sit as a juror, which I think is really great.
Yeah.
And it's all up to them. I mean, I don't have the right as the judge. I can't stand. Wait a minute, wait. That's too harsh. No, we're not going to do that. I'm just there as a referee mediator.
That's great.
That's good.
I like that.
And I will do this once we make sure this is up in writing. I want to invite you to come because I'm telling you, you'll enjoy this. I mean, the one I sat through was very, very enlightening. And, you know, especially, I mean, you guys to a certain extent are like I am. You know, we hear about all the kids that are doing things that are screwing up. These jurors are committed, they're interested, they're involved. The one kid was asking better questions than some of the attorneys I see in front of me. And I would encourage you to come watch. As a matter of fact, I'm going to try to go to the training to see what the training is that the prosecutor's office puts the kids through. Just depends on timing. I'm not going to make them work around my schedule, so if I can do it, I'm going to. And I think there was some talk about doing that during the school day during Mr. Hanna's government class.
Yeah, I'm happy that he's involved in this because he's been involved for, I don't know how many years, Judge, in the law day program over there that you have.
You're not going to make me answer that. Since before I was on the bench, we'll say that.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, and they always did an excellent job because I've participated in that for a few years
And the kids
now.
love that.
They do.
Not as much as the seniors.
I know. I was just going to say some of the senior citizens. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thanks for the opportunity to be here.
Oh, thank you.
Can I turn it off now?
Yes. Now we need, in front of you, just passed out the recommended motion. So I need someone to make a motion.
Madam Chairman, I'll make the motion. Move that the Board of Education adopt the Wayne County Teen Court Program in conjunction with the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office and the 34th District Court.
Support.
Okay, motion by Mr. Mankiewicz, supported by Mr. Kuderik. I don't imagine we have any other questions, do we?
Just a comment, Madam Chair. I would like to see, once the program is instituted, that we get some type of feedback when they come back and do a presentation, because I know details still have to be worked out. So that would be my request.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, Mr. Weiss, we have
Okay.
up next.
Next, we have Mr. Dolan, and Kathy Hurst is here to share with us some information about the league.
Thank you,
We have a
Mr. Weiss.
PowerPoint presentation.
Just a quick update, intro to Kathy, and I want to thank the 4 principals that extended their long day in support of Mrs. Hurst. That's nice of you all to be here. As you're aware, we've been actively involved in the Learning to Give program and service learning since when, Kathy?
Well, actually, way back, because Tom presented in Congress back in 1990 with a couple of students from the high school.
That's right.
And I think that was kind of the springboard to Service in Romulus.
So about 1991 we started. We hired you with a grant,
1993.
93, and you worked for 6-7 years. And
11 years.
11 years with service? My goodness. Wrote a book on it, and Kathy is considered one of the leading experts in the state on service learning, and has presented at many national and state conferences. To make a long story short, we've demanded a good reputation in the implementation of service learning throughout our district. We evolved or morphed into philanthropy. We were one of the first districts in the state of Michigan to model and to pilot the philanthropy Learning to Give program. We've done that for 4 or 5 years. All our schools are involved in that. All our teachers have been trained in it. We're pretty unique in that. Based on our success in that, based on our long history of involvement in service learning and philanthropy, I was approached last spring by the league. The league is, and Kathy's going to get into that, to see if we would be a pilot district in the state to pilot the development of the league in all our schools. Brought it back to our teachers, our principals. There was a lot of enthusiasm to it. Carl attended the in-service this summer with the principals and teachers at Kathy's house, and there's a lot of anticipation how it's going to help our kids. And Kathy, who continues to be a leader in this, is going to talk to us about it. Kathy.
Great. Okay, so we've evolved again. is
Excuse
what
me,
comes out-
you
I'm
need your microphone, please.
sorry. Okay.
Yeah, we morphed into another.
Thank you.
Okay, and I need to stand here. Okay, so what we've done is evolved again. The concept of giving of time, talents, and treasures for the common good, which is what our children understand philanthropy to be, has evolved into this concept called the League. And so I'm going to give you tonight just a brief background of what the League, the concept of it is, and then give you an idea of what the League will look like in the Romulus Community Schools this year. The League, the concept of it is something like a sports team. So think of it in terms of a sports team. Each school has a captain, or I'm sorry, each school has a coach, and the coach is a teacher. And then each classroom in the building, and different schools are doing it differently, but each classroom in most schools has a captain and a co-captain. These people have meetings, the coach with the captains and the co-captains, and they plan events throughout the year. And these events all are philanthropic in nature. The concept of it is kids getting together, not to do sports, but to do good things, to be involved in philanthropic activities. I had my election in my classroom the other day. It was interesting. It's a group of second graders, and so I said to them, in order to be a captain, here's what you have to do. In order to be a co-captain, here's what you have to do. And I said, boys and girls, raise your hand if you'd like to be a captain. All 30 hands went up. Raise your hand if you want to be a co-captain. All 30 hands went up. So we had to quickly change our discussion, and then we did end up having all of the children run for either co-captain or captain, because even the shyest kids wanted to run, which I thought was pretty powerful. The great thing was, after we had the election, gave us a chance to talk about popular sovereignty. After we'd had the election, then we went ahead and talked about what are all the other kids in the classroom going to do. What do all the other kids on the team do? You have captains, you have co-captains, but what does everybody else do on the team do? They play. And so we said, you're right, you're all players on our team. And so you all have an opportunity to do the philanthropy with the captain and the co-captain. And so you can go ahead and change that. So think of it as a team that has coaches, captains, and players. And can you go back one more? Okay, so this is what the program's going to look like, and I'm going to go into it really quickly. There are events. There are monthly events. The month of December, there is no event. They kind of call that the 7th inning stretch. And then, and at the end of the year, there's an awards ceremony, just like you have with sporting events at the end of a season. So the events start out, we're required in the district, each school, to do 2 of the events a year. One of them is known as one day, or we call it the Serve-a-thon. And it's during the month of October, when there's National Make a Difference Day. But we don't have it on National Make a Difference Day because that's somebody else's day. So in our district, we decided on October 7th it would be a day of service. So at Wick Elementary, our kids will come out, we'll clean up Wick School grounds. Some of the older kids can walk over to Elmer Johnson Park, clean up over there. So we'll do just a day of service within the district. And different buildings will choose to do whatever it is that they want to do. Then we're required to do an awards ceremony at the end. What's most important here is to get kids, young to very old, to realize that even maybe they weren't a player this year, maybe they didn't have the opportunity, their parents couldn't bring them to an event, but they're still celebrating with us because if, and I keep using WIC as the example because that's where I am, if at WIC School we have a building of caring individuals that are doing philanthropy, that are involved in giving to others, then we naturally are going to have a building of kids that care about academics, care about what they do every day. And so we're celebrating all together because everybody benefits from buildings that have those kinds of structures. So those are the two events that are required. When we met this summer, we talked about, because we had an option of opting out of the monthly events. We could do just those two and not do any more. We decided as a district that a lot of the things that the league had in place we're already doing. We have the Martin Luther King Walk. But what we need to do differently as teachers is to encourage our kids to come out and support that walk, come to the program, participate in the program. Many of us already do Valentine cards and send them to the VA hospital. And so you can go ahead and switch on. So I'm going to just give you an overview of what we decided as a district that this year would look like. Preseason and Spirit Week. Everybody has Spirit Week in their elementary schools. Barth had an article in the Romulus paper just this week, I think it was, that was pretty awesome. They had their Spirit Week already. They chose 5 nonprofit organizations. Each day they collected, had some kind of service, philanthropic activity for that organization. At the end of the week, they brought the nonprofits in. The nonprofits talked about what they do for the community and how kids can help to service them. And then they turned over the checks that they had collected for those different nonprofits. It was pretty awesome. One of the things that that also to keep in mind is that within the district, we're competing against each other. Each school competes against each other. So it's a league within our district, and we're all on different teams. So different school teams, but then also different classroom teams. I'll compete with the classrooms in my building. And so we earn points, just like you do on a team. If a kid collects a quarter for doing service, he gets a point. If a kid shows up to do service, he gets a point. There's different point systems throughout the year. And we have to register those points then with the National League organization. So Romulus will have an ongoing tally that compares us to the other states that are involved. And so, and other countries that are involved. So we kick off with preseason and Spirit Week. Spirit Week will generally be the week before homecoming. That's when we're doing it at WIC. There's always some kind of focus question. How do civil society and philanthropy correlate? And what is our responsibility as citizens of the global community? So getting our children to think about those kinds of things so that as they grow older, if they're continually from kindergarten to 12th grade thinking about philanthropy, it becomes a natural habit of the heart. And that's our ultimate goal. Okay, so after Spirit Week, then the next event is in October, and it's the Serve-a-thon. And the Serve-a-thon is an opportunity. The national organization gave us all a bank account with some seed money in it. And during the Serve-a-thon, what our kids will be doing is they might come to you and they might say, will you pledge me 25 cents an hour to go and do whatever service each building has decided to do. That money then gets deposited in this national bank account, and the kids that are the captains and co-captains, if there's some kind of social issue that they decide they want to contribute to this year, they might decide to donate some of that money there. If there's a project that they want to do that they need some seed funding for in their classroom, the money will come from there. So that money will be used for multiple reasons. What does it mean to be a member of a community? It gets the kids during the Serve-a-thon thinking about, financing. How do I become a member of a community? How do I give back? So, okay, and then the next one, in Thanksgiving, many of our schools already do canned food drives, sock drives, a lot of different things. The focus question, how might individuals in society address the issues of poverty, homelessness, and hunger, and their underlying causes. So Thanksgiving drive is something that many of us already do, and so hopefully you're starting to see that this really isn't an add-on to what we already are about, but it's something that, that we do naturally. And then in December, we have off. January, we get into the Martin Luther King Jr. Day. What is a world citizen's responsibility to promote and advocate for justice and kindness? We already have our MLK walk. There's another activity that's very cool that comes from the Learning to Give project, and they're little cards, and they're called Giving Game. And you print them offline. And those little cards have little numbers on them. And what you do, they're little like business cards, or not business cards, but charge cards. And you do an act of kindness for somebody. I was at Meijer a couple weeks ago. The lady in front of me didn't have enough money to pay for her groceries. And I said to her, don't worry about it. If you want those cookies, get those cookies. I'll buy them for you. You know, and so with that, I could hand her a Giving Game card. I did an act of kindness for her. Then she does an act of kindness. She keeps passing the card along. So it's kind of like that. There's a movie, Pay It Forward, and it has that concept of pay it forward. And so some of the cards, you can order them online and they're registered. And you start them you register that number in the computer, and each person that gets that card registers the act of kindness they had. And it's actually an ongoing story. And so the week prior to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is Acts of Kindness and Justice Week. And so we'll do that Giving Game card game during the week prior to that to get the kids thinking about acts of kindness. And then the next week is Valentine's Day. A lot of these days were also planned with the multiple intelligences in mind, getting kids have different abilities. And so Valentine's Day brings out the artistic talents to build on social capital and, again, a more civil society. And so the suggestion for that month is to do cards, send them to the military, send them to the VA hospital, send them to different organizations, nursing homes, different places. So that's February. March is Earth Day. As philanthropic as I am and as passionate as I am about philanthropy, I never can get into Earth Day. Fortunately, we have a teacher in our building who loves Earth Day. And so, and Earth Day is what is each person's responsibility for environmental stewardship. So again, it's getting kids that are the outdoorsy kids, tapping into each of different kids' talents and abilities. And so then it ends with Earth Day in April, and then we have the celebration at the end of the year. So that's what the League looks like. Did I miss anything? No? Okay. So any questions?
Just on a local level, this is going big time. There's mega bucks behind this whole concept. The Parade magazine, a lot of the actors and actresses, a lot of the philanthropists in the world, they want to make the sports metaphor. They want this to go. So there's like millions and millions of dollars going into this nationally. They want to see kids, and who can argue with the concept? And we're on the ground floor of this in relationship to one state is already doing it, that's New Jersey. We are the second state to come in line. I think we're one of the first districts, district-wide, it will be implementing this. So.
And just since the spring has spread to 16 states. So it's, yeah, I get actually quite a few emails for people just looking for implementation ideas.
It's big in India, I know already.
Yeah, yeah.
If you could tell us, one of the questions I asked you initially was, how is this connected to our content expectations and our core curriculum? You gave me a very good answer. I think the board members should hear about that.
And thank you, because that's one of the things that I actually didn't bring up, is that it's wonderful to do good things, really, really wonderful. We all do good things all the time. But they're, you have to understand why you're doing them. And the really great thing that the league has done is that they've taken learning to give academic curriculum and they've connected it to each one of these activities. During this week, the week of the 18th, every teacher in the district should be teaching a philanthropic unit. What is philanthropy? Every kid in Romulus, you should be able to walk up to them and ask them, what's philanthropy mean? And they should know it, because that's the kickoff to this. Every lesson is connected to grade level content expectations. They've all been aligned. So if you look at them, it'll say, for instance, I was telling you that I did the voting the other day. I taught about popular sovereignty. It was perfect. Popular sovereignty is a hard concept for second graders to understand, but if they're running in the election, the one with the most votes wins. They could understand that. And so all of Common Good, I taught Common Good through that lesson. So anyway, and each grade level has a packet of curriculum units. When you're getting ready to teach the arts lesson, there's going to be a lesson in there about something about giving, something about philanthropy, it'll have some art tied into it. But they're all aligned with grade level content expectations. So you can look at it, look at your GLICs, and know exactly what you're teaching and why you're teaching it. It brings meaning to the kids. Why are we doing this? What's the purpose? And so they truly understand that there's multiple reasons for it.
It's good to be good.
Very good. Thank you.
Good job, Kathy.
Very good, Kathy.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have we need a motion for what are we on? Our 2006-2007 Michigan School Readiness Program State Aid.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the Michigan School Readiness Program State Aid as presented.
Support. Motion by Ms. White, supported by Ms. Buckley. Do we have any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And the last one that we have is a field trip to New York for our AP Social Studies for April 25th through the 29th.
Madam President, I'll make a motion to approve the field trip to New York for April 25 through 29 of 2007 for the Romulus High Advanced Placement Social Studies class as presented at no cost to the district.
Support.
Motion by Mr. McCabbage, supported by Ms. Lanasi. Do we have any questions?
Yes, Madam Chair, I got a question. Last year, we approved quite a few trips similar to this, and I remember making a comment to get some feedback from the students. Is there a way we can ensure that we get some feedback to see how the trip was worthwhile, to see what the students learned? And
Some of them have wrote us letters.
right.
I can, if what you're asking for is a brief presentation.
Yeah, something from the students, what they've learned on their trip or something like that, to, see what they got out of it.
Speak with the AP Social Studies teacher and just make sure we get that calendar.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Great.
That'd be good.
I think I learned one thing in reading this itinerary is that they're not going to want to ride buses for a while afterward.
Anybody that goes on trips like this doesn't want to ride buses.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the first trips that they've done to New York like this.
I think
So
so.
it'd be interesting to find out what all they do and what all they see while they're out there.
Madam Chair, I just want to make sure, I see that on this passenger reservation form, this corporate travel service, that it's a reputable service, because I see so many school districts on TV, their kids are taken, their money is taken from travel agents when they're going on some kind of trip. So just want to make sure that these people are reputable and stand behind whatever it is, deposits we put down.
My understanding is that this is the company they've used for previous trips, although they haven't gone to New York before.
I think this is the one we've used for several
Yeah.
I think
events
this is
that
the
our
one.
They've been
students
going to
went on for years.
Philadelphia and
Toronto and
deciding to go
Washington,
farther
DC.
east for whatever reason, but it's the same, my understanding is it's the same company.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure. I just see so much of that. I wanted to make sure that we're set. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, all in support?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have communications and expressions from the public, and I don't have anything in front of me. So with that note, we'll go on to items of interest from the superintendent.
Okay.
Actually, I think that should have been switched around there, usually, aren't they? But,
You know, I'm not
but
sure.
we're all set.
I still have my training wheels on as superintendent, so I'm not sure. I believe we have two items for Mr. Dolan. Maybe if you want to go into detail, Mr. Dolan.
Just the committee representation and the schedule for presentations, and if the board has, I guess I could get from you which board members are on the district committees, and I could add those.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll give you a
have
call
them.
tomorrow and
I'll
get those.
Get them from you. I'll call you with them tomorrow.
Okay.
I got a
And the
list.
board in the presentations are there, if there's anything on the board presentations that you want added, give me a call.
I can just, like the updates we just asked for, maybe they could be in there as far as the teen court and then maybe feedback.
Okay.
Maybe we could put these in one of them dates.
Will
Not
do.
a long thing, a little short.
Gotcha.
Could be.
You probably want the update on the teen court at the end of the year, probably. And,
Progress, whatever.
Yeah,
Don't have to
gotcha.
Yeah,
wait
it
till the
goes.
end of the year.
okay. No problem.
Any other questions? We have, are we all set, Mr. Morris?
Madam Chair, I got one question, actually. I don't know if this can be Ed or what, but the new equipment that we got into the schools for the cafeteria, how is that working out for the students? I'm hearing a little rumbling, and I'm just curious, is the adjustment period, or?
Unfortunately, Sherry is not here, but there are some issues that we're looking at. Matter of fact, we have a meeting with Local 64 on the 20th to discuss some of these issues, not only with equipment, but with the staffing, so on. So we're looking at that.
And the quality of food, we're not losing any integrity on that?
I
We're
have
still-
not heard any problems
Grading
about that.
reviews at the middle school.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything
It's
about
just the
that.
preparation time.
The
seems to be
preparation
a-
time.
Okay.
Right.
So we're working on that, and on
Yes,
the
we are.
20th, we're having a meeting?
Yes.
Great.
Go ahead, Betty.
Two things. Do they need to recall a secretary for transportation, our transportation department, or are you just gonna continue having one in there?
At this point in time, we're going to continue to have one. Obviously, we're always looking at that, looking at the work demand, the workload, but at this point in time, it's just going to be the one.
Okay, because I heard some grumbling from Local 64 about the first days of school, and I just was wondering how we were gonna handle it. The other thing was just, I went to two of the schools, as Local 64 president suggested we do, and I was very impressed with them. This is before the youngsters got in there, though. And they have done a good job on the skeleton crew that they got, and I'm very impressed.
They really have.
They've done a very good
I
job.
only got to two of them, but I'm
Schools look
sure-
nice.
Yeah, they really do. I was really happy, yeah.
Any other questions or concerns tonight?
I just wanted to comment, Madam Chair, that I was able to attend another football game, and I just wanted to report back to the board and to the administrators as well that much more impressive this last time. Everything seemed to be running very smooth. You could tell that there were people in the crowd, administrators were moving, shifting kids around. They did a fabulous, excellent job. I think it makes our kids feel safe and our residents as well, that we have everything under control. So thank you for your support on that issue. And I think that's all I had.
Anything else? We don't have anything else. We need an executive session in regards to teacher negotiations, am I correct? We need a roll call, please. Well,
No,
actually, we
I
need a
gotta make-
motion.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion that we convene an executive session.
Call me.
Motion by Mr. Minkavic, supported by Ms. Lanasi. We need roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Goodrich.
Yes.
Ms. Lanasi, Mr. Minkavic.
Yes.
Mrs. Roscoe.
Yes.
Mrs. Clark.
Okay, we need a meeting to go
I would
out
like
of
to make a-
executive
I would
session.
like to make a motion that we reconvene.
Support.
Executive session.
Supported by Mrs. White, supported by,
White.
motion by Ms. White, supported by Ms. Sprayer.
Roll.
We need roll call.
Sprayer.
Yes.
Buckley.
Yes.
Goodrich.
Yes.
Lanasi. Minkavic.
Yes.
Roscoe.
Yes.
White, yes.
Well,
Okay,
she's got that down there.
we don't have any action to take, so we need a motion to adjourn
I would
from
like to
this
make a
meeting.
motion to adjourn.
And a motion by Ms. Sprayer, supported by Ms. Lanasi. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.